Hello again, I'm Bud Churchward, and I've been posting videos of segments from our February Mount Baker Amateur Radio Club digital group meeting that we had on Zoom. And in this segment, we're going to be talking about Vara. Vara is a new and exciting digital mode that is catching the attention of a lot of hams. So you should know that this is just a discussion group here, and the topic came up. No one is trying to do a formal presentation on Vara, and you're not going to see slides or PowerPoint in this. But if you're interested in Vara, I think you'll find this discussion quite interesting.
Steve, let's go to you next. You wanted to chat about Vara.
Um, I've been intrigued by Vara, and I'm getting closer to having radios on the dummy loads to experiment with across the shop. And I was really impressed by the author announcing out of the blue that he had added a digipeater capability, which I think really opens up the potential for Vara, to put in a digipeater at a central site. Given that it's running on Windows, I'm not sure about the feasibility of putting it on a high site, unattended. But certainly the digipeater capability really opens things up for using Vara among a larger group. Randy, you've been playing with Vara a lot longer than I have. Please, thoughts?
So Vara, yeah, it's an interesting protocol. It's a sound card mode. And, we thought we had sort of been doing pretty well with AX25 and faster packet. And, some folks had tried Direwolf and Sound Modem. And then sort of out of the blue, a year and a half or two ago, this guy in Spain started making Vara FM. And then more recently, Vara FM wide. And maybe to explain that is, normally packet was audio frequency shift keying, and we basically had a mark and a space tone, and it was kind of relatively limited in speed, typically 1200 bits per second. And if you wanted to get to 9600 bits per second, it was a little bit like running WordPerfect. You had to stand on your head, hold one finger on the shift. It wasn't quite that bad, but getting the audio to work for 9600 was challenging. So suddenly Vara FM is a more complex modulation. And with Vara FM wide, it uses the full bandwidth of our FM transceivers, the full audio bandwidth. And we're able to get some pretty decent speeds out of terrestrial packet on a VHF or UHF channel. So around Seattle, the Seattle ACS group has pretty much moved exclusively to Vara FM. And we're probably going to take out our last AX25 nodes in the next few months. And then I'm also with a ham club in Burien and Des Moines, where I live south of Seattle. And the club there has 2 Vara nodes. Never had anything else other than Vara because we just put it on the air a couple of years ago. So we've had pretty good luck with it. It works great with WinLink. And then to address Steve's point on Windows, it has been unreliable. We've deployed Windows PCs around Seattle, and we needed considerably more horsepower in the Windows PC to run Windows plus Vara than we did previously. We were using some little mini PCs with WinLink and Sound Modem and whatnot. And when we switched to Vara, we needed a stronger, more powerful PC. And part of that is Microsoft continues to push updates to Windows, and it's a bit of a bloatware problem. So our problem of unreliability was whenever Microsoft pushed an update, we couldn't always guarantee that the PC would load itself and reboot. So the latest incarnation, Doug KD7DK has been working on Linux implementation running Wine on Debian and running Vara inside Wine on Linux, and working with the BPQ Linux BPQ node as the node software. So it eliminates WinLink and uses the BPQ software, which supports a gateway to WinLink, and it runs Vara FM on Wine, eliminating technically the Windows OS. So it's a little bit more complex, but for, as you say, Steve, a high site place you want it to be reliable, this seems to have promise, and certainly we don't have to worry about a Windows update taking out our node.
So can you, with Wine, can you kind of defeature it to just take out the GUI, since if it's going to be running unattended?
No, you still need the GUI because Vara uses the GUI to tell you what's going on. So there isn't a way to talk to Vara in a command line format. You need the GUI to be able to see the audio levels and to run the interface to do a level setup. But that in itself is not hard to do these days. So we've latched on to a little mini PC we like. Lenovo makes a thing called the Think Center Mini, which is about an 8-inch square PC. And there's quite a lot of them on eBay. Not horribly expensive. Some of them are i5s, some of them are i7s. They have a laptop power connector, which is similar to a ThinkPad. And there's a company that makes a really nice cigarette lighter power plug for a ThinkPad. Works great on these little mini PCs. So we're running them off of 12 volts through a PWR Plus power supply, running these little mini PCs that run Linux, Wine, and running the Vara software. So ultimately, we all kind of wish that Jose, who writes the software, would either open source it or make it otherwise available so that we could run it on a better OS. But we're sort of working around the limitation of Windows as a reliable operating system for a remote unattended site. And to be fair with Microsoft, we are running the desktop operating system, Windows 10. It's not really designed to be a server, to give them some fair credit, but there's no way we're going to go license Windows Server to run it at these sites. It would give us a few more tools. So that's kind of where we're at. Continuing development around the Vara protocol. And we're really pleased because we can typically get 12, 13, 14 kilobits per second over a wide FM channel. People are having pretty good success with it. It makes WinLink pretty flexible for moving emails and even small pictures.
Is there any way to bridge two instances of Vara on the same system? For example, theoretically creating a crossband digipeater?
You can run two instances of Vara by installing it twice and putting the second instance in a new drive, a new folder in your drive. So Windows seems to have the capability to identify the two different sound devices you would plug in. Mm-hmm. And Doug has been working on the Wine recognition of two different audio devices, and an upcoming release of Wine is going to have a feature that differentiates and identifies multiple USB sound interfaces on Wine. So hopefully we'll be able to do that running on Linux as well as a node. The most common use might be dual band, or in Seattle, some of the better sites have a 430 meg node and a 439 meg node multiplexed or duplexed into the same antenna, just to have more capacity for Vara at some of our better sites.
Randy, does Vara, when you're running Vara with a sound card, can it tell the difference between a left channel and a right channel? That you could...
No, it entirely just uses one channel. See, the mic input is usually just mono on a lot of these sound cards, and this stuff. Let me think about this. It works with your sound card. Mostly, we've been using it with the RA board, which is a CM108 based USB sound card, and the trick in all of this, of course, is the PTT keying.
Are you still recommending the Masters Communications with DRA 50? I think it is.
Yeah, we like that. Our nodes in Seattle are usually running Motorola CDM 750 radios, and those are similar to the proverbial Max Track that's been around for a while. The CDM has the connector on the back of it with 16 pins, and you can buy a USB interface that that has the Motorola connector on it plugs directly in the back of the radio. So it makes a pretty handy package. If you're running a bunch of these, consistency is always good because then you can have spares, but you also get really good at setting up one type of radio. We're using flat audio for transmit and receive. It's important to offer the radio. It's important to offer flat audio so that the radio has the broadest audio spectrum. Vara makes use of as much audio as it can get. So there's a wide modulation method. And if you give it flat audio, it will, I think it works from a few hundred cycles up to 2,400 cycles.
It's adaptive, right?
It is to an extent. There's like multiple carriers of audio all the way through it, and it will adjust the level for tilt and gain within a range.
So when you're talking about flat audio, I'm not familiar with that. Are you talking about like before or after the discriminator, like what we would call 9600 baud connection versus the 1200 baud?
Yes, exactly. So normally an FM radio that we would use for communication pre-emphasizes and de-emphasizes, and for data, you don't need that. So it bypasses that. The other thing that some radios do is they have things like filters for private line or CTSS that have, like a high pass function. So your communications audio above 300 hertz passes through, but below 300 hertz, they filter off the PL tones so that you don't hear a hum coming through. So coming off the discriminator bypasses all of that handling in the audio section of the radio and allows the modem to make use of as much wide bandwidth as possible. So yeah, if you've got a commercial ham radio like an ICOM or a Kenwood that's got 9600 mode, you should be pretty good. I have a 991 Yaesu, and I'm a bit disappointed with the USB interface on it because the USB interface in the 991 will not actually go to a wide audio mode. Somehow it's limited in its audio passing, and I can't actually get it to run Vara FM. It'll work on narrow, but not on wide. On the other hand, I have some earlier earlier Yaesu mobile radios, the 8900, and it works fantastic on wide. So there's radios that you interface with the mini DIN seem to work pretty good. Radios with a built-in USB sound interface already in the radio, you'll just have to try it to see how it works. The mileage may vary there according to what I've found with my Yaesu.
Your answer, I think you're answering another question I had. So Vara isn't so fussy that it only works with like radios. So your group is using a variety of radios and they're all interoperable.
Correct. Yep. It's not as fussy as 9600 bit per second packet. Like when we were running like, what was it? The RUH modems and stuff, the low frequencies that they use require some really tricky level setting and audio handling in the radios with the G3 RUH modem, for example. So we've moved away from that completely, and having this new modulation protocol that Vara uses seems to be a lot less sensitive to the type of radio. And we've got people running a variety of radios with good success. Additionally, as you mentioned, the adaptive nature of Vara means that you don't have this binary thing where it either works or doesn't work. You'll get some kind of a connection. You just may not be satisfied with it, but at least you'll get a connection and you can pass a message, and then you can optimize the parameters and figure out how to get it to work better. But the adaptive nature of it is actually really nice.
Very, very cool. Thank you, Randy. You answered all my questions.
I think I've got a little table here that might be helpful. This little table, if I get it up on my browser, it's on the WinLink website. If you'll oblige me for just a minute, I'll figure out how to present this. I've got some minimal view of Zoom here, and I've lost the controls. There we are. Well, See, I'm not very good at this.
It was there for a minute. There it is.
I'll see if I can make that a little bigger so it's not so much of an eye chart. This is on the WinLink website, but the key thing is here is the modulation methods. So in addition to being adaptive, the modulation type with Vara will change. So you can see that on the FM wide, which is the left-hand side of the chart, it steps through 4 PSK, 8 QAM, 16 QAM, 32 QAM, 64, 128, and 256. And then its net rate goes up 25 kilobits per second. We're fairly commonly getting level 10, level 11 around Seattle. And on bench tests, you can get radios to work up to 12 or 13. There's quite a bit of multipath in the Seattle area because we've got the Olympics on one side and the Cascades on the other. And then the narrow side is when you're not using the 9600 mode of your radio. Again, it has 4 PSK, 8 QAM, 16, and so on, but the number of carriers is different. So you can see that in the narrow model, you have 58 carriers. Think of carriers as being a frequency of audio in your radio. And in the Vara wide mode, you have 116 carriers. It's got a wider audio bandwidth because you're running flat audio and not having filters in it. So instead of being like packet, AFSK, where you've got a mark and a space tone, we've actually got 58 or 116 tones effectively, or carriers, where it's modulating. And this is what drives more bandwidth with Vara, either 12,750 on the narrow mode or 25,210 on the wide mode. And if you've got a weak signal, you haven't got a great signal into the node, you can still get a connection. What we've found that a poor Vara FM connection will still beat 1200 bit per second packet any day of the week with any kind of radio condition. And for that reason, we've decided to just eliminate AFSK or AX25 with the Seattle ACS stuff and just standardize on that. So I'll leave that with you. Thanks for a little opportunity to join your group tonight. Kurt told me about it and I thought I'd interlope, and here you put me to work.
Yeah. And so, but Vara there's a free version and a pay for?
That's right. So it has a licensed mode, and you can go up to a certain level in the free mode and not have to pay for it. And our experience is that free mode is still faster than AX25. So we've told our members in Seattle that, look, we'd like you to go pay for that thing. I don't know, it's $25 or something. But no, so it's a little more than that. There was actually a group buy. We got some money off. Anyway, we'd like you to go pay for it. But look, if you don't want to, you can still use it because it's still faster in the free version than 1200 bit per second packet. And then if you're running a node, you don't actually have to license the Vara FM for a node because they allow you to run nodes for free because they realize that that's incentivizing others to perhaps consider licensing the Vara code. So personally, I'd love to see Jose's work open sourced, and I hope that there's a group that Steve knows pretty well, the ARDC folks that manage the IP addresses are floating various grants around. I'd love to see Vara become a more open protocol rather than this thing where you have to license. But at the present time, it's really not a lot of money to license. It works fantastic, and we've had some really great success with it. It is a connection-oriented mode, though. So it's a one-to-one connection-oriented node mode where you connect to a gateway and you start a session and you extend your data and then you disconnect. So it's not going to replace some of the other multi-user modes we have, but on a WinLink basis for exchanging email messages works fantastic.
I saw also on the link that you shared, it says that it had improvements for operation with inexpensive HT radios and through voice repeaters. Oh man, gobsmacked.
Yeah, I don't know about the HT thing, but there are times when it does actually make sense to exchange a message, for example, in peer-to-peer mode. If you and I, Steve, can't communicate directly on simplex and one of these scenarios where everything's down, and there's a repeater that works between us. Presumably, we could fire up Vara and send an email message via a repeater to pass a message in an emergency. So
it would just navigate the PL tones that are going to be passed along. It just handles it.
I honestly haven't experimented with it to understand what it does, but it presumably must figure those things out. It's going to have to drop out the carriers that it would use in the PL frequency.
Oh, that makes total sense. That makes total sense. It would just drop out those low frequency carriers.
Yeah, because most repeaters probably filter below 300 and maybe pass up to the high 2000s, maybe 3000 hertz.
Okay. I don't want to keep haranguing you. More questions to follow via direct email, Randy.
So, hi, Lee Nichols here. I've got a question, sort of general question regarding Vara.
Go ahead, Lee.
So I'm running McAfee's Live Safe antivirus, and it persists on identifying Vara chat as a virus, and even if I tell it that it's okay, it deletes it anyhow. Anybody else encountered that problem? Guess not.
Nope.
I haven't used Vara chat extensively, but one of the challenges with all of our ham radio software is they tend to be developed on a small scale, and the software developers tend not to be registered with all the developer systems, the ecosystem of, say, Microsoft. So they're often not shipping programs that are well recognized because, ham radio use is a 1% use case or something. So we usually just have to shut virus programs, or not shut them off, but rather tell them to ignore those files. There's usually some mechanism in the antivirus program to say that this file is okay and to not flag on it.
Well, I did that, but it deletes it anyhow.
Oh, it's trying to be smarter than you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Well, thanks, Steve, for bringing up that topic, and for Randy for such a great introduction to Vara. I did not know very much about it other than the fact that it is closed source and it's Windows only right now. I have read a few postings online that they're no more than rumors, really, that Jose is not considering at this time porting it to Linux or making it open source. But I hope that changes in the future so that more people can take advantage of it. Perfectly understand his reasoning, though, for charging for that product. I mean, it must have been an enormous amount of work on his part to produce it. So there's a lot of time, I'm sure, that he invested in it. So thanks again for bringing up that topic.